What's up? Welcome in. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about Trey Lance and the fact that he feels reinvigorated. Why? After multiple injuries, a lot of quarterback drama, controversies at that quarterback position. Trey Lance, who's dealt with a lot going into year 3 for a guy who's still really young, is feeling recharged heading into what is going to be a pivotal season for him, but a monster offseason in which I still believe he can turn some heads and potentially be this team's starting quarterback if he lights the league on fire. Before we talk about that, let's get the plaque. Let's get the plaque. Once we get to 100,000 subscribers here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, YouTube, Silicon Valley, NorCal, San Francisco, they will send us a plaque. And we're going to go nuts. We're going to celebrate that achievement here on the 49ers Report. But as you know, we have some work to do, as evidenced by the numbers here to my right. We are 18,760 people away from reaching 100,000 subscribers. If you're coming across the show for the first time, Niners news, rumors, updates, analysis, it's informative, insightful, entertaining, all in one. We do live shows. We do watch parties. So if you're looking for year-round daily Niners coverage, this is your spot. Hit that subscribe button. Now, you think about what Trey Lance has dealt with up to this point, heading into year 3 after being the number 3 overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers back in 2021. He has the weight on his shoulders of being the number 3 pick. So the expectations are certainly there, especially when you're going to an organization that's won 5 Super Bowls, and when he was drafted, they were still considered to be a premier team in the NFC. Now, Trey Lance wasn't able to start many games in year 1. Only 2 starts. So he didn't play that much as a rookie, which I'm sure was disappointing for him to a certain degree. When he was on the field, very inconsistent and erratic play. His mechanics, also erratic, kind of all over the place. Now, some of that because of injury, which we'll get to here just around the corner. But Trey Lance didn't really do much to convince the Niners coaching staff, his teammates, this organization, that he was ready to play. Can he play? I do believe so. I think he has a lot of potential, but because of the inconsistent play and the wonky mechanics, he doesn't look ready to play. Only 21 combined starts going back to 2019 at North Dakota State, paired with his time in the NFL. So after he did win QB1 in that battle in training camp last year, he then got hurt. That's got to be really disappointing, especially when you go down early in game 2 after playing in a monsoon in week 1 in which you couldn't really display your true abilities. So far in his career, he's had the finger injury, which did impact his mechanics and motion. He had the knee injury after that first start against the Arizona Cardinals, then the ankle injury last year in week 2 against Seattle. He gets hurt, and he's thinking, okay, I'm going to be this team's starting quarterback if I come back this year or next year. Doesn't look to be the case. Brock Purdy balls out. He goes 7-0, 5-0 in the regular season, 2-0 in the playoffs before falling in the NFC Championship game. Throughout his career so far, Trey Lance has had to deal with a lot of arm fatigue. And with all of this comes the labels of being a bust, and Lance has needed reps, he's needed game experience, and he simply cannot get them. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but first I want to hear from you down in the comment section, and I know a lot of you have thoughts as well, whether they be good or bad. Will Trey Lance be a successful quarterback in the National Football League? It's simple. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down, get those votes in. S for successful, or B for bust. As for what Trey Lance said about being recharged and being reinvigorated throughout this offseason, going into year 3, I really feel like I'm having fun playing football again. It's hard those first few years, my first year and especially, and then last year. I finally feel like I'm able to just have fun and enjoy football again. I read that quote, and it's honestly a little bit sad. I do take mental health seriously. I think everybody else should. That's why it's become more prevalent as far as its awareness across America. I can imagine that Trey Lance had to deal with some really difficult times. When I saw him on Super Bowl Radio Row, this is just my read, looking at his body language, looked like a guy who was a little bit down. Now, he did have a couple of radio appearances and said all I want is the chance to compete. Well, Trey Lance is having that now. But I imagine after all of the Jekyll and Hyde moments, all the trials and tribulations, he gets hurt like that after finally getting his opportunity that he's dreamed of for his entire life, and his dreams get dashed right before his eyes. That's got to be depressing. It's got to be really sad. He did admit the other week during OTAs he saw a sports psychologist, and I think that's a good thing for him to do, to try to just strengthen himself mentally, to put himself in a really, really good spot to overcome some of the adversities that he's dealt with so far. And the finger injury that he suffered in his rookie year, it seems to have really impacted Trey Lance's accuracy and Trey Lance's mechanics. That's coming from Lance himself about the finger injury. That's coming from head coach Kyle Shanahan. With the way that Trey Lance throws the football, he does press down on the ball with that index finger. And when he injured that, he wasn't able to use that index finger to press down on the football. Instead, he had to use that middle finger. That's why we saw a lot of the wobbly footballs coming out of his hand, and maybe that's why the accuracy was impacted. But even last year, when the finger injury was somewhat behind him, the mechanical flaws were still there. He did finish third among the quarterbacks competing in training camp last year in completion percentage. So I do want to see how the healthy finger and the new fine-tuned mechanics are going to impact Lance and how he's able to deliver the football accurately, but most importantly, accurately and consistently. Here's what Shanahan said about Lance's mechanics in general. Your whole body is connected from the ground up, similar to a golf swing for a quarterback. So anything that gets thrown off, it can definitely adjust things. And when you overcompensate it, whatever it is, watch any quarterback throughout the year, that's when things start to hurt and then have to go back and you have to recalibrate it. I know a lot of you, upon hearing all of this, are probably ripping me for some reason, or you're saying this, we're just making excuses for Trey Lance. This injury wasn't all that bad. The kid can't play. These are all just excuses. I do believe, though, that from the mental standpoint and the physical standpoint, these things can impact an athlete. Just like if you're going to work and you have things that are on your mind and things are dragging you down, that can also affect your work performance. You can make those similarities. As for the changes that Lance has made to his mechanics, the arm motion has been draggy at times, long and loopy. At OTAs last week, it was quicker, more concise, and faster. The release is a little bit faster of the football. And I do think this is important because when you drop back to throw the football, this is one of the issues that a lot of people had with Tim Tebow. He had that long, loopy release, and it just allows pass rushers to get to the quarterback with more time, right? Because that arm is just so loopy. They can strip you, turn the football over. That's why it's somewhat important. The base is a little bit better for Trey Lance, and there's also this change in his front leg. Whereas before it was locked, try to throw a ball with your lead leg locked. You're not going to have as much accuracy. But when you're more balanced out with the bent knee, that's when you'll be a little bit more accurate. Now, as far as these new mechanics go, they're coming to the forefront because Trey Lance does have a new throwing coach. This offseason, he worked in Dallas with Jeff Christensen, who has worked with Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo. And I thought that the article done by Matt Barrows of The Athletic was very interesting about Christensen's work with Trey Lance. Here's that nugget once again in case you missed it a couple of weeks ago. The issues with Lance's throwing motion initially were substantial. Important word there. Christensen said it usually takes him a day to diagnose what's wrong with a quarterback's delivery. With Lance, it took 4 days. But once he figured out the root cause, there was steady progress. Lance's accuracy improved, the spin on the ball increased, and the delivery time became shorter. And with what Jeff Christensen had seen and what we saw in those OTA videos, it looks as though that is in fact the case. Now, I will say this about Trey Lance. There no longer can be any excuses for Trey Lance. While Brock Purdy, according to reports, might be 100% ready for week 1, and he is on schedule to start throwing from the 3-month mark of him getting that surgery, Trey Lance at OTAs last week got every single rep with the first-team offense. He should continue to get every single rep with the first-team offense. He has an opportunity to show this coaching staff, to show the organization, to show his teammates that he can, in fact, be a top-tier quarterback in this league. And he can be the guy that the 49ers envisioned him being when they drafted him at number 3 overall. This isn't just an audition for the San Francisco 49ers, by the way. If the Niners are sold that Brock Purdy is the guy, Trey Lance can be auditioning for other teams across the NFL because teams are always looking for a young quarterback with a lot of talent, a lot of upside, and a lot of potential to mold. And Trey Lance, still on a cost-affordable contract, especially if you exercise that 5th-year option after this year, that's 2 more years of team control. And if Lance falls flat on his face, he flounders, he struggles, and he looks like a bust, that's on him because the opportunity is right in his fingertips to prove to everybody across the NFL that he can be a legit quarterback in this league. Who will start week 1 at QB for San Francisco? Is it Lance type TL? Is it Purdy type BP? Is it Sam Darnold type SD? Let me know down in the comment section right now. We appreciate all of you for watching the show.